because in this episode, we are going to talk about the doors that I need for both of these closets. So let's get to it. Welcome back to our Loring House project. I am coming to you from the primary bedroom on the second floor, and as you can notice behind me, perhaps you can, the walls have been plastered. So all the walls, all the new walls I should say, these are closets behind me, these walls have all been plastered, as well as the ceiling, which you can't see. Well, give me a second here, let's see if we can do this. We'll just tilt the camera up. Ceilings, all nice and plastered, as well as the kitchen space downstairs. All right, so my task, and I know we haven't done a build episode for a while, so this is gonna be a build episode. I'm gonna build one door. I have 4 to build. I've already built one. I'm gonna build another one because it takes too long to build and film. So this is one of the closets here in the primary. This one might end up being mine. I'm not quite sure yet, but it just might be. So we're gonna have 2 doors here in this space that will open. Obviously the doors are going to open out. All right, so I have to build the 2 doors to fit this space. I measured it last time, height and width, and I'm making them a little larger than they need to be, so when they go to be installed, there's a little bit of room to, cut them down if they need to be. If you build them too tight, or if you build them right to spec, there's any discrepancy in either the trim that's going to end up going on here or the levelness or the plumbness of the wall, it's going to mess the door up. So the best thing is to build them just a little bit bigger and then be able to trim them down. So there'll be 2 doors on here. The space gives me 2 24-inch doors, so that will open up. So what's that? 48 inches, right? So I'm building the doors. Overall, actually 24 is their finished size, so they're bigger than what they need to be. They'll be a little bit smaller than that. All right, so, and we're building them with reclaimed lumber that we got from the attic up here. So you'll get to see a little bit of that. So I have one that's completed. So let's go take a look at that and then we'll get busy building. So the other day I built this door because I didn't want to start building it, filming, and then figure out I couldn't do it or waste too much time trying to figure out what I needed to do. So I pre-built the door. It's 3 panels wide. It measures, like I said, so it's 24 inches wide by 75 3/4 in the height. So 75 3/4 is what we need to cut the boards to. Now I'm going to turn this around so you can see how I attach the boards to the back of the door. This door mimics the other doors that are in the room, most specifically the bathroom door that's directly across from these doors. So I have 3, you can only see 2, you can't see the bottom one. I have 3 of these cross pieces, and if you look really close, you'll see that I used some period correct nails to attach everything. I think this is called a batten and board door. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments below, but I think that's what it is, batten and board. So we're going to set about making one of those. Now the boards that I have are almost the exact width, but they're about 16 feet long, so we need to cut them down. So meet me over at the chop saw and we'll take the next step. So here's the board that I'm going to use. It takes 3 cuts, so I basically need a board and a half to make one door. Hopefully I have enough. I think I figured right, as long as I don't make any mistakes. I figured right that I'll have enough wood to do all 3 doors. It is in its raw state. These were floorboards, or acting as floorboards. They weren't nailed down, they were just laying up there. Floorboards in the attic. One side is rough, the other side is smooth. It appears to be fir, not pine. It's not that dense, so I know it's not oak or anything like that, and it definitely does look and feel and mill like fir. To give you an idea of how long this board is, I had to put an extension on my I don't know if you can see all the way down there or not. Let's give this a quick measure and see how long this board is. If I remember correctly, it's 16 feet. Let's see how good my memory is. First of all, let's see if my tape measure goes that far. It's almost in the neighbor's yard. Okay, so here's 14 feet. My tape ran out at 14 feet. So we are, which is interesting because it says it goes to 25 feet. So 14 feet, it's probably 16 feet, like I mentioned. The first thing we need to do to prepare this is we have to clean the dirt off because we don't want to run this through any of our blades. It dulls the blades rather quickly. The next step after we cut the pieces to size, we're going to run them through the thickness planer, and that has a bunch of knives in it, and we definitely don't want to do that. So we're going to clean this board up, and then we'll work on getting it cut, and we'll go from there. So we're going to flip it over, do the other side, then we'll mark them up. We'll mark them up for length. I'm not too concerned about how the board looks because the design calls for these doors to be painted. So it doesn't actually matter which side I put out. I can't tell because I ran these through the planer. I think I have the rough side out on the prototype that I made. So we'll see. But the dirt that's on here is just the dirt from sitting for however many years, 100 years, whatever it was, upstairs in the attic. So, it dulls the blade, so it's best to clean it up. I'm going to flip it over and we'll measure them up. The other difficulty I have with this particular board is it's got a bit of a cup in it on the side. So when I run it through the planer, it takes a couple of extra shots to go through. And there's also some checks that I need to make sure don't go all the way through, because what we don't want is the door to split, either during the milling process or after the door's up. All right, next step is we're gonna mark these for length and get them cut. First thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna back this board down and cut the end off, a little bit off the end, so I have an even cut to take my measurement from, because I don't know how straight the end of this board is, and I want to make sure that it's perfectly straight. So when I make my cut at 75 and a half, that I'm good. Now, the other thing you might do is set up a stop block since you have multiple cuts to make. So you cut the first one, set up a block, run the next ones through, so they're all the same. I think that takes longer for these 3 cuts that I have to make. So I'm going to measure each one separately, and hopefully measure them all right, and they all come out the same. So it's going to get loud. All right, so like I said, where am I? So like I said, it takes 3 cuts, or board and a half, basically, to make one door. So I've got to pull another board out, clean it off, square the end, and cut a piece, and then I'm going to take them to the planer. So I'm going to take care of that, and then I'll see you over at the thickness planer. So So this bad boy right here is a thickness planer. So inside, up under here, right here in this area, there is a wheel with a series of blades on it that spin at a high rate of speed. You feed the board in from this side, and you can adjust the level. This goes up and down. A mosquito in here. Based on what you have for wood inside the planer. Really all I'm doing is I'm just really taking off a micro level. I don't want to take too much off. People are going to complain that I'm taking the patina off the board. Yes, I am. However, the boards are getting painted, so they need to be somewhat smooth. So this will speed up the sanding process down the road. So we're going to put each board through probably twice, maybe 3 times, just to skin that, take that very micro layer off the top. The other correction is I did not cut another board. I had another one that I had cut from the previous door that I didn't use, so I'm going to use that one on this door. So that will save me and give me an opportunity, hopefully, to get at least one more door out of this type of wood, and then maybe have to switch to a different kind. All right, it's going to get loud, so there's not going to be any sound, but you'll get to see what happens. All right. All right, so that takes care of the planing operation. I only ran them through a couple of times because again, I just want to take that micro level off, and since they're cupped a little bit, I didn't want to take too much thickness away from the board itself. So the rest we'll do with some sanding a little later on. All right, the next step is I need to check the sides to make sure that things are going to come together okay. They don't have to be perfect because I'm not gluing them, but I want to make sure that the joints are going to be tight. And then we'll start some assembly. So meet me over at the bench. Looks like, I want you to be able to see the boards here. It looks like I'm going to be able to save myself a step because these are coming together pretty good. Remember, I'm not gluing up the joints, so the fact that there's a little gap here doesn't bother me. If I was gluing these up for, say, a tabletop or something like that, I'd want these edges to be tight. I'd want these joints to be tight. But that's not the case here with these, so I think this is going to be just fine. And we're get everything lined up right. So now the next step is I got to cut and put the slats on here, the 3 boards that go across. I have one already here, and then we'll have one here in the middle, and then one near the top, and that holds everything together that way. So I'm going to mill up 2 more of these, and then we'll be ready to go. All right, I've put things over. The smooth side, is up, and I'm gonna reattach the clamps just to pull these together a little bit, so things aren't floating too far around. I also need to make sure I put these on in a place where I'm not going to need access, so I can still put the cross pieces on. So most of what I've learned about doing this, I learned a lot of stuff from my father and my brothers, but most of what I've learned as far as preservation carpentry goes, I've learned from watching various people. I gotta fix this camera angle. Various people online. I have some favorites that I watch, and one of the things that I've learned is, especially if you're doing this not just for entertainment but for education, is we all make mistakes. From Norm Abram on down to me, we all make mistakes, and you just saw one. Luckily I caught it. I have done some other grand projects where I've been halfway through, and let's say the glue is dry, and I've noticed that I have things on the wrong way. So it's very helpful to learn early on that part of doing all of this is making mistakes. The guys that built this house 300 and something, almost 400 years ago, didn't have plans, didn't have exact measurements. They were doing it from knowledge, and I'm sure there were mistakes that they made along the way and were able to correct them. And that's part of the woodworking process. Is you make a mistake, you learn from it, hopefully you can correct it, and you soldier on and you do the next thing. All right, now I'm going to put these 3 pieces on. I just noticed there's a little bit of a hump there that I want to take off. Little chip from the table saw. Where's my block plane that didn't come off? This poor little block plane of mine has been through the ringer. There was just a little piece left from where the didn't go all the way through the table saw. All right, so we have 3 of these that go on. Plan here that I drew last time, so I know what's going on. We are 4 1/4 from the top and the bottom, and 36.5 inches down. So I started with the one in the middle so I could get a really good. I got to check though. All right, let me check a measurement. I'll be right back. Because I'm building a match set, I want to make sure that everything's good. So I stepped out to measure the door that I've already made, and I had adjusted this to 35 1/8 down to the top of the cross piece. I'm going to do that on both sides. 35 1/8 is right there, and then we'll line that up. So I mentioned I'm using these nails to fasten it. These bad boys right here. Where is it? There it is, right there. I'm using those, but I'm going to secure it with some pin nails just so it doesn't move, and then I'm going to pre-drill and nail. But I'm going to fasten all 3 boards on first with the pin nails, and then go back and follow up with the other nails. I also want a consistent measure in from the side, which was 1 inch. So I've got my combination square set at 1 inch. So that's right on the money. So we're going to pin nail in the corner. I'm going to go around the other side, do the same thing, and then I'm going to do the same to all the other ones, except it's 4 1/4 and 4 1/4. Now, before I remove the clamps, I want to get a couple of nails in each of these cross pieces, just to be on the safe side, because the pin nails are only in the ends, and I don't want them to back out, or they're not very strong. They're only 18 gauge, so they're not very strong. So I'm going to pre-drill and then put a couple of nails in each board. So I don't know if you can see, but these are square cut nails, so they're blunt on the end. And I learned a hard lesson with these, is that these go in with the grain. You don't want to put these in across the grain, or they run the risk of splitting the board, especially near the end. And really, especially on this old wood that I'm using, because it's rather dry, and it really runs the risk of splitting. So I'm going to pre-drill and nail, and I'm going to nail with the grain. The original door, or the bathroom door that this is modeled on, the nails were from the outside in, and they stuck through longer than the board. I always like to pick this up to make sure I nail it to the table. But they would come through, and then they would bend the nail over almost on top of itself and drive it back into the wood. That's called a clench. I talked about this in another episode when I was taking something apart, or I might have wrote something and put it on our Facebook group, which, by the way, I linked down below if you want to follow along. All right, I got a couple more of these to do, and then we should be done with this one. All right, so everything's nailed off, and we have, as you see, a match set of closet doors. The big test is going to be when it comes time to hang them. I think we're going to use some H hinges on here. In fact, I should have brought out a sample. Give me 1 second, I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. These are called H hinges. I'll give you one guess as to why they're called H hinges, if anybody can guess. These, I believe, are original to the house. These came off of one of the doors that we removed. I believe these came off the bathroom door that's going to become a pocket door. But these are going to go, or similar hinges to this style are going to go, they'll be mounted on here, and then obviously on the corresponding trim. And that's how the doors will open. There'll be 2 of them, obviously. Not sure yet what we're going to do for a latch, but there'll be some rudimentary latch here in the middle that will keep them closed. And then they'll be mounted in the closets we saw upstairs. All right, I got 2 more to build. I'm not going to bore you with that build. Those are going to be a little bit smaller because that hole is a little bit smaller, the opening. So, but I need to get busy, so I can't keep filming today. All right. Thanks for watching. Down below is a link to our Facebook page, Loring House. You can follow us there. I post pictures almost every day. We're really closing in. The kitchen's been delivered. It's, I think, going to start to be installed this week. Again, I said the plastering is done, so we're up to painting. They tile the bathroom. We're really getting close now to the finish line here. So you can follow us there. Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe if you like. I am like 6 subscribers away from 500, so I would appreciate if you're watching this for the first time, subscribe so I can get to that 500 mark. I want to hit that magic 500 number. I don't know why. I just feel like I need to get that. I've been hanging at like 494 for a long time. I want to get up there to that 500 mark. So give us a subscribe, like, tell your friends, and thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again next time.